It's easy to be right. It's hard to be productive. So you can be right and you can force your 4 next steps down the throat of your employees, and you'll be right, but they'll hate you because their opinion doesn't matter. Their creativity doesn't matter. Sometimes it's better to be right and feign that you're wrong, because building the team is more important than being right or being fast.
Welcome to Founder Real Talk. I am your host, Josh Broward, CEO of Wisdom Partners, the sponsor for the podcast. And we're glad you're here. And one reason why we do this podcast is to support founders in their journey, because it's hard out there. And it doesn't do us any good to just hear the success unicorn. It's all unicorns and rainbows and puffy cloud stories, because it's a grind, and it's sometimes terrifying and sometimes exhausting and all of that, and sometimes amazing. And we need to talk about the whole roller coaster. So today we have Dana Marxer, who is the CEO of AyeQ, spelled AyeQ, which is a SaaS company that helps B2B organizations automate growth planning and sales and marketing execution. So, Dana, so glad to have you on today.
Well, thanks for having me, Josh. Happy to be here. When you were talking about what the podcast was all about, I was like, yes, that is accurately describing the life and the journey of a founder, for sure.
Great. Well, I look forward to digging in some on what the dips and bumps have been for you. But first, let's hear a little bit more about AyeQ. Can you help us understand with a little more depth, what is the problem you guys are solving?
So the problem that we're solving in a nutshell is we are solving the inefficiency and unpredictability that we see in a typical B2B software growth function, any B2B function really, but any company that has multi-channel marketing and a multi-stage sales process, where all of these come together and are more complex. You probably know, if you've been in that function ever, that it does not operate like every other enterprise function, right? And so what we do is we approach it with an engineering mindset. And so we design the performance, we automate the generation of a RevOps function. So nobody out there who's in a B2B software company should say, okay, let's create our sales process from scratch. Nobody should be doing that, because it's been done over and over and over again. Or let's try to put together our sales and marketing analytics. It's going to take you a really long time. You probably don't have the expertise, and you could, just turn it on if you wanted to. So we have this engineering mindset for the revenue growth function, where we're essentially manufacturing bookings, right? We design what the manufacturing process needs to be to output the bookings that we want to generate and the growth objective. We design the whole process.
Bookings as in like calendar appointments, demo appointments?
Sorry, closed won opportunities. So revenue.
Okay.
So when I say bookings, I mean closed revenue. So for a B2B SaaS company, it is new logo subscriptions, it's expanded subscriptions, it is renewals. So effectively, we are optimizing the whole growth function to generate the maximum amount of revenue out the end of the growth function. So that's essentially what we're doing. So if you have, the typical problems we see in the B2B growth function of, bookings misses, or poor sales productivity, or I don't know what I'm getting from my marketing investment, or
Mm-hmm.
I have forecast accuracy problems, or my board does not have confidence in my planning. It's because you don't have a healthy engineered growth system.
Mm-hmm. It it sounds like a big part of what you're doing is automating and engineering what we call building the money machine,
Hmm.
where you put $1 in and you get $2 out. So that sales is predictable. It's a pipeline. Every We just know if we pump more dollars into fueling the pipeline, we'll get a predictable amount of sales out.
Yes. And importantly, we know where best to put that dollar. So
Mm,
there are lots of places you could put the dollar. We want you to put the dollar in the place that's going to generate $3 out versus $2 out.
mm. Okay. Let me ask you a question from one of our coaching clients. It may be a little granular, and
Hmm.
I know it's not a perfect fit because they're a CPG company.
Hmm.
But sh I was just talking with the CEO, and she was saying she was working with her team. They were doing a new product launch, and she said, how will we know if this product launch is successful?
Hmm.
And she was not super satisfied with the answers her team gave back.
Hmm.
I know that's a really granular thing, but is that the kind of thing that your software would help with?
Absolutely. So on the marketing side, we often ask, what did I get out of that trade show? Or
Mm,
how is are these paid ads really giving us anything? And in a typical infrastructure, there's a chasm between the marketing automation system and the CRM where the sales processes are managed. In order to optimize your marketing spend, you must be able to connect marketing activities with the sales pipeline and importantly, closed revenue, right? Like views, clicks, all those leading indicators that marketing automation systems tend to maximize. Doesn't matter
mm,
if you're not
right.
generating revenue out the other end. And so that is exactly what our data model and our design are built to maximize. So it's really an optimization equation, right? I've got so much input. I've got all different kinds of inputs. I've got sales headcount, I've got BDR headcount, I've got marketing programs budgeting, I've got marketing systems, I've got marketing people. And where do I put my dollars so that I get the
Mm,
maximum revenue output? And all of those things are connected together. So when you have, like you were talking about, a product launch in CPG, if you're talking about, I have a new consumer packaged good, right? And I launch this product, and I have a marketing campaign. And if somebody responds to the marketing campaign, they buy the product. That is a much simpler way of being able to track, did my marketing campaign generate revenue? Now, when you look at B2B software, you have multiple campaigns with multiple people inside a company reacting to those campaigns. You have opportunities generated for a company that has multiple contacts. And so then understanding, how are my marketing activities impacting one contribution to pipeline? That's a very complex thing. And it takes, and this is why, it's like, are you really going to try and build this from scratch? Because so I'm an engineer by background. It takes a very seasoned understanding of how all of these things interrelate to come up with the right logic to give you the
mm,
actual, this is what you got from the trade show. Should you do it next year? Yes or no? And
mm,
these are the things when we start to optimize our annual plan, and we say, how much money should I give to marketing? Then you really want to know what
mm,
the spend you had in all these programs, how they impacted your revenue output. And that's a complex question. So that's what we solve.
Okay. And why does this problem in particular resonate with you?
Because I am an engineer. Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about my story. So, back in my early career, I have a master's in electrical engineering and an MBA in finance. And then early in my career, I ended up in marketing. So all of this, the way I think, the education I have, I get into marketing and I'm like, how do you guys even know what you're doing or why you're doing it or what is good and what is bad? And so immediately, you put an engineer in marketing, we build an engine, right? So immediately when I hit the ground in the marketing department, I started building this model. It's like, there's a million great things you could do in marketing. Which ones are you going to pick? And you want to pick the ones that are going to have the greatest impact. And by the way, what do we need to provide to sales for them to be successful? Right? Is it number of leads? Is it, the classic question in marketing is, number of leads, you're not following up on our leads, sales. And sales would say, your leads suck, marketing. Right. And so that's where you get this finger pointing because it's not a connected system. It's like, guys, we are all part of manufacturing revenue. What do we all have to produce along that line to be successful? And so it's that alignment. In fact, you ask, so AyeQ, the name of the company, is all around alignment and intelligence. Right. So this is one connected process and you can use analytics to optimize that process. Just like in manufacturing, you're not going to wait till you get a defect in your product at the end of your production line. You're going to know way earlier that something is going off track so you can stop the line and fix it before you get a defect on the other end.
All right. So what is a win for the AyeQ team in the past 12 months that makes your heart proud?
So we have used machine learning and AI in our analytics when we're looking at our predictive modeling and all of those things. So we've done that for a long time. And every system, back when we started digitizing information, garbage in, garbage out is a well-known phenomenon, right? We know this. And so when we implemented our AI agent, the infrastructure of AyeQ by design cleans your data. If you're going to design your function, then you know exactly what pieces of data in your marketing automation and CRM system must be present and clean. And if it's not, AyeQ is going to flag it. So when we implemented our AI, the answers that it started giving back were beyond my wildest imagination. It's like, are we going to hit our bookings this year? Where's our risk to our bookings? Where should I invest in marketing to have the greatest impact on closed revenue this year? That's a very complex question. But because the underlying data is clean and good and structured, it gives really good answers. And the answers are completely inspectable. So that was, I'm still kind of pinching myself. Every time I get in that demo, I'm like looking at the different questions I'm asking. Of course, I'm always pushing its limits, but it's not disappointing. It's amazing. So that's been a huge win because I will say, the platform required knowledge of how these processes and the systems work, right? So a lot of the dashboards could be a little bit intimidating for the executives or the real RevOps people. And so AI simplifies it all, right? Now you just ask a question. It generates the chart you want to see. Or it says, go here in the platform and you'll see why this answer is what I'm saying. So it has it's taken all of the hard work we did up front. Now it's making it it's serving it up in a digestible way. So that's been a huge win. And for all of the uncertainty around AI, I say y'all embrace it. But you have
Mm,
your platform has to be solid underneath it. So that's been a win for our team.
when, so let's unpack that a little bit. It
Sure.
sounds like you were building a lot under the hood, a lot of horsepower under the hood, uh, specialized, focused on RevOps experts.
Hmm.
But the big change has been basically adding in artificial intelligence interpretive layer.
Hmm.
Uh, how long were you building under the first part?
We started developing in earnest in 2019. So that tells you how long we have perfected and added to the platform. So where we started with ingesting marketing automation and CRM data for sales and marketing data. Today, our platform brings in financial data. It brings in operational data, right? So now we see the full health of the B2B enterprise. We can see, you know, one of those great KPIs that boards love to see, LTV to CAC,
Mm-hmm.
lifetime value to customer acquisition cost. And in order to see that,
Mm-hmm.
you have to have the data that comes from all these enterprise systems. That's why it takes like, oh, we got to calculate LTV to CAC. Okay, let's get our dust off our spreadsheets. Let's extract the data. Let's do this. Let's do that. And it takes forever before the board meeting. Whereas in AyeQ, it's updated every day. So,
So
but I mean, so you have lifetime value is one of those KPIs that is defined very differently for different companies, right? And you have to have some expertise around where you source the data to get the
mm-hmm.
accurate KPI. Then you can use
Mm-hmm.
AI to see all the trending, all the impact, all the you know, correlations, what's impacting that. So, but getting that right under the hood is not trivial.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what I'm trying to get at is the timeline of because okay, so I'm thinking about a core premise. I I heard this years ago when basically machine automation was coming up. I and someone said I'll just say it how they said it. Shitty process leads to a shitty automation.
Hmm. Paving the cow
And
path is another one.
what paving the cow?
Paving the cow path. Cows
Oh,
meander,
yeah,
meander,
right.
meander.
Well,
So if you automate that, you're paving it like this.
yeah, yeah. So I think what you're saying is you spent a lot of time getting the process right. And then you did some automations and artificial intelligence stuff on top of that.
Mhm.
Where what's happening now, a lot of companies are starting with AI, but they may not have the expertise and wisdom to to help their agents ask the right questions and find the right data.
Mhm.
So how long did it take you to build the first part and then get it ready for AI to help with interpretation?
So there is building the infrastructure, and I would say, even to get to some of the dashboards, it would take a company with the right expertise at least 12 months. With the right expertise, with a reasonable analytics platform, and where data typically, the level of cleanliness that data typically is in a B2B company. But
Mm,
there's more than just the data, right? Because I can have all of
mm,
the data clean, but if I'm not describing the structured data, if I'm not describing that structured data properly, the AI still
mhm,
does like bookings. Well, do
mhm,
you mean an appointment? Do you mean what
mm,
is that? And is it's closed won revenue, right? So describing your structured data in a way so that it's consumable by AI, that took us another, I would say, 90 days. And, even that 90 days and then optimizing the AI and then adding all of the best practices to the AI was surprisingly not as long as I expected. Because there's a lot of tools out there, right? If your platform is solid and the data is clean and you've architected it well, having AI be able to consume that doesn't take very long today. But the underlying part takes a long time if you're doing it from scratch.
Yeah. So one thing we talk about a lot here is learning from failure or learning from struggle. Could you share with us some wisdom that you earned the hard way by falling down or by stubbing your toe?
Yeah, if I look at the total investment that we've spent in the platform, in the technology, I would say we wasted about 30% of it, maybe more. Why? It was all me. Because two things. One is I really wanted the organization to look a certain way. I wanted certain people to fill certain roles. And that hope, even though the evidence was that person isn't successful, I kept hoping they would be. And so you hear this in, for a lot of entrepreneurs, it's learn to fire fast. I didn't do that. I had this hope that things would be different than the evidence was telling me. That's one area of wasted investment. I would say another area is thinking that your customers are going to use the platform in a certain way rather than allowing them to tell you how they want to use it. So that is the product-led type of mindset. And customers don't think about it the way I do, right? Why isn't this platform out there? Why did I even build the platform? Because it wasn't out there. Because you don't get process-oriented engineers. You typically don't get them in the marketing and sales function, right? So that piece of how do I give them the value, the incredible value of what this technology can do in a way they can consume. And AI's helped a lot with that, by the way. But yeah, it's, you don't have the luxury of seeing how things are going to pan out. You have to see the evidence and act on the evidence quickly. And when you don't, you're going to waste time and money. Have you heard that a lot, Josh? Or put another way?
Yeah, I was just going to say maybe a voice of encouragement. If you've only wasted 30% of your investment, you've done pretty well.
Oh, good. That makes me feel so good.
Because, most people, even us at Wisdom Partners, some of the first stuff we tried just didn't work. And we tried it for too long, probably. Like, we knew it wasn't working the way we were trying it, but we're like, what if we just tweak this and try it this way? Because we really believe in it. And no, but one of my co-founders, Charles, who has gone from 0 to 1+ multiple times, he says the first year of a startup is like wandering in the desert. Like, you don't even know exactly where you're trying to go. You just have an idea that you're kind of chasing. And then year 2 is like, it's maybe starting to work. Like, I think we're onto something. And then year 3 is like, okay, it really is starting to work. This is moving. And year 4 is like, whoa, this is going fast all of a sudden. So, like, how many years it is, that kind of varies. But he
Yeah,
said
and throw a
almost without
pandemic in
fail,
there.
that's the
If you throw a
yeah
pandemic in there, how
yeah
does that impact that timeline?
different for everybody.
But that sounds about right. I mean, the interesting thing is, I was in these roles, these marketing and sales leadership roles in B2B software companies for 15 years before I started my own
Right.
consulting business to do this for multiple companies at the same time. So I'd seen it
Mhm.
over and over and over and over again. So I would say, we really had a proof point on the platform probably
Mhm.
earlier than most. Hey, I have an idea, right? Because I
Mhm.
lived and breathed it. I knew it was a problem.
Mhm.
So I think that's super helpful.
And I think even some of the mistakes you talked about of you know keeping somebody on for too long, uh, pushing the product, shaping the product in the way we want it to be. Those are really common,
Hmm.
and I wonder how, in a lot of ways, that like what we do is just helping people face up to those realities sooner.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because if you're
Yeah.
talking with somebody about it helps. Like, you just speaking it out loud is like,
Hmm.
I see it now. Whereas if it's all in your head, you can kind of ignore it for longer. I don't,
Yeah.
have you had somebody that you speak it
This
out
was
loud with?
this was actually very early on in the company. The event that I'm thinking of. I learned that early on. And another thing that I did to mitigate that risk, because I'm definitely an optimist, right? Is bringing people on in a fractional role today is easier than ever, right? And bringing somebody on in a fractional role and getting to know them and getting to trust them, especially when your team is really small, was super, super helpful for us. Every
Mm,
single person in the early stages is critical.
mm,
And so, if I look at the folks that have been on our team now for several years, we can finish each other's sentences still.
mm. Yeah.
And so that's super important. And it's way more fun, right? When you're working with a team that everybody knows their turf and
Yeah.
and fun is important. Fun is super,
Hmm.
super, super important because
Mm,
it's going to be hard.
yeah. Yeah.
So you want to be in the trenches with people that support you and you support them. So,
Tell us, what is a challenge you're trying to solve now for IQ?
well, I guess this is a little bit also of a learning too. Know when to fire yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I have fired myself from multiple roles. One of the
Hmm.
most important roles that I have fired myself from is marketing. And I've been a
Mm,
marketing executive in multiple software companies and highly successful. And
yeah.
I recently fired myself from marketing my own product because
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the eyes to see. Right.
Mm,
And so I'm thrilled. We've just brought on a woman in marketing who is absolutely phenomenal. But, I needed that fresh perspective. So I think, knowing when to fire yourself is why did I get on that tangent, Josh? What did you just ask me? Oh,
I
what am I
said,
solving? What
what,
am I solving?
yeah,
So
yeah.
scale. So I'm solving scale
Mm,
right now. Um, One of the things that has made, I mean, our NRR our net revenue retention is incredible. Our customers are so great.
mm,
And a lot of the reason our customers are so great is because we're very invested in their success, right?
mm,
So they give us feedback on the product, but we're there when it's, somebody calls me, a customer calls me on the phone and said, Dana, we're going into this meeting with our banker and we need blah, 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 blah. Right. Now they can
Mm-hmm.
just ask our AI agent, but it used to be, oh yeah, we'll throw that on a dashboard. We can do it in 3 minutes. It
Mm,
was that kind of service that
mm,
it is absolutely, the platform is awesome, but our team is awesome too.
mm.
And it's a lot of expertise. So I think as we scale, one of the things that I think really kills the long-term viability of a company is not building a great company as your goal. Rather,
Mm.
if you're building that the transaction is a goal, you're going to miss it. Right? So I think as we scaling to have the same type of service that we have for our customers who love us, for all of our future customers, I think that's where my mind is.
Yeah, so many things to talk about there. I'll start at the end. Uh, I heard something recently, just in the last week or two. Steve Jobs's, I don't know how apostrophe on the S name. Steve Jobs's best product was Apple itself. Like building the company is the
Mm-hmm.
best thing he ever did, not building the iPhone
Mm-hmm.
or the iPad or whatever. It, and so I think that is what, and it's demonstrated by the fact that they continue to innovate and they continue to excel. They continue to be the cream of the crop of user interface, all of that stuff. So I I love how you said the main thing to focus on as the CEO is building a good company,
Mm-hmm.
not building a good product or building a good revenue engine.
Mm-hmm.
It's the company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
How did you figure that out or identify that as the primary goal?
um because that is what makes, in my opinion, that is what has made our business successful.
Mm,
Right? We could have had our awesome product, but if we hadn't had a great company behind it, we would have been out of business a long time ago. Right?
mm,
And, I think understanding, like, I suspect, and you'll know this better than I do, Josh, but I suspect that a lot of founders are the type that are really super smart, really, hey, I have a vision. I know the next 4 steps. Let's get this done fast. But over my career, I always come back to this saying that maybe I heard it somewhere or maybe I made it up. But it's it's easy to be right. It's hard to be productive. Right?
oh,
So
oh,
you can be
bold.
right and you can force your 4 next steps down the throat of your employees and you'll be
Yeah.
right, but they'll hate you, right?
Yeah.
And they will not be innovative at all because their opinion doesn't matter,
Mhm,
their creativity doesn't matter.
mm,
Sometimes it's better to be right and feign that you're wrong, right? Because
mm,
building the team is more important than being right or
mm.
being fast.
Yeah, that's hard. Uh,
Very hard. I'll tell you, okay, this is a little personal tidbit.
okay.
So, I'm the mother of 5 boys. My life is very full, and my oldest has autism and my youngest has Down syndrome. My joke is it's the 3 in the middle with special needs. But those 3 are gonzo and they're out doing whatever they're doing. And just this past weekend, I was in the kitchen and I was cooking, and Ben, he's 15, he has Down syndrome, light of our lives. He is the most awesome thing. Everybody misses Ben. I'm like, what about moms? Nobody misses mom. They miss Ben. But I was cooking and Ben came in and I let him start cooking with me. And I
Mm.
let him start seasoning the chicken. And I started letting him, it took so long, but it was such important time. And I look back over a couple decades where I sprinted, 24/7. And I'm like, this is why we do what we do, right? It's stopping. Stop. I know everybody who, the founders, your mind is always turning. Your gears are always going. You're always creating. You're always thinking about the next thing to do. And this weekend, I just kind of had that aha moment. I was like, yeah, well, what if he breaks the eggs and it doesn't, he gets shell in there? Guess what? We have more eggs. No big deal. It's no big deal. Right. And so that's another saying that I think is really important when you're building your team and you're getting a team that steps up into leadership positions. You got to let them fail. You even if you see it coming, a really important thing to ask yourself is, what's the worst that can happen? Right? If the worst that can happen is our company shuts down, then stop them. If the worst that could happen is, we lose a deal, let it happen. Right? You just got to weigh what's the worst that could happen. Because the learning and that, maturing of your team is absolutely critical.
Yeah, you're making me think of one of our blog posts. We titled it "How to Triage Fires Without Kneecapping Your Team."
Mm-hmm.
Part of the process is a discernment of how bad is this fire, like how sort of important and urgent. Like, okay, it's okay to let this one burn for a little while they figure it out, or this one is a 5-alarm fire, must be put out right now. But I'm also going to help you learn how to put out 5-alarm fires. Well, Dana, thank you for giving us your perspective on all kinds of things today. I really appreciate your time and the energy you bring to the process.
Thanks for having me, Josh.